What's up, everybody, and welcome back to my channel. The Ellen DeGeneres show has been doing an investigation ever since dozens upon dozens of her employees have come forward with their own stories claiming discrimination in various forms, whether it is over mental health, whether it is over racism, you name it. They claim that they've experienced it working on Ellen's production company. As a result of the investigation, which claims to have interviewed over 100 different people, we're now hearing exclusively through Variety.com that 3 top executives have been fired from the show. Interestingly enough, all 3 of these producers are men, and their names are Ed Glavin, Kevin Lehman, and Jonathan Norman. Despite these 3 producers being fired from the show, Ellen's production company is claiming that that doesn't mean that they found evidence of systemic racism, which is interesting to me because you listen, that was one of the biggest charges being levied against the show, was this woman's story about how she was told that her name was not going to be remembered, was not important because she was not white. She was called the same name as another black woman who also wore braids because someone told her that, they can't tell black women apart when they all wear braids, etc., etc. So it is interesting that, like, amidst all of these stories, yes, 3 people did do things allegedly that were bad enough to earn a firing, but somehow we are not hearing what exactly it was that they did to deserve to get fired. Anyway, Variety is reporting that Ellen is the one who broke the news to her employees in the form of a video conference call where she was on the verge of tears, talking about how she feels as though in an effort to become a well-oiled machine, sometimes the producers forgot human decency and to treat other people as human beings. And she admits that she herself is not perfect. Something quite interesting coming out of this story is that Twitch, who recently spoke out about his time working with Ellen, they've got a video on that should pop up somewhere in your recommendeds here. So he said that, listen, there were obviously things that needed to be addressed about the show in regards to the other claims that people were making, but he didn't say exactly what it was. Well, he actually got himself a promotion. He got promoted to co-executive producer, and Ellen said that she wanted to speak to her staff one-on-one or in little groups once this health pandemic sort of subsides a little bit and it becomes more safe to do so. Personally, listen, we're going to be in this pandemic for quite a while, so I don't understand why she did not form sort of little groups for, like little Zoom rooms or something like that, so that they could all have conference calls within certain rooms or one-on-one calls for a little bit. You never know. Like, they can do these things virtually versus waiting for a disease, a pandemic to subside, despite the fact that, especially in America, it's going to be around for quite a long time as numbers continue to soar over there. And she didn't even take any questions or anything like that from people immediately on the call, which I found to be a little bit interesting there. And one of the last notes that Variety has in this story is that, listen, I don't remember, by the way, whether it was Ellen herself who addressed it or if it was her staff that addressed it, but it was addressed. The diversity issue was addressed on the call. And something that was being said was that they acknowledged that they were not hiring enough diverse staff. So that is something that they're going to be looking more into promoting going forward. And I think another issue was that, and I hope that they address it in this level too, is that it's not enough to just hire people of color for entry-level positions. You have to promote them to positions of leadership as well. Because listen, we see this so often where people who don't have a minority background are insensitive to the different plights of minority staffers or even minority public. For example, how many times do you hear about brands coming out with racially or religiously or ethnically insensitive ad campaigns or statements, XYZ, and things like that could very easily be solved by diversifying your staff, because people from different religions, ethnicities, races, you name it, have different perspectives to offer and can protect different communities based on, their own experience with those communities. So it is very important that Ellen and people in general have people of color, women, you name it, in leadership positions to make sure that people working under them who are of different racial, religious backgrounds are also protected and advocated for within the system. So I hope to see that happen because, a lot of times when companies hire people of color, what do? And they hire them for executive positions. It's for roles like, chief of diversity. executive of inclusion, like stuff like that. It's like, listen, can we have things a little bit more tangible than that? I mean, yes, those are obviously important roles, but let them be executive producers. Let them be vice presidents of engineering, of marketing, of, consumer relations, you name it. We could do a lot more than that in 2020. And last but not least, one of the biggest rumors going on about Ellen DeGeneres not being a kind person allegedly is the fact that it's been reported many times that she doesn't like for even her staffers to look her in the eye and speak to her without being spoken to first. That was something that Variety reports that she acknowledged on the call. She claimed that they were, I quote, crazy, not true, but that she did consider herself to be an introvert. So maybe people were misinterpreting her introverted nature in that regard. I don't know. Listen, here's how I feel. If 101 people are saying the same thing about you, maybe 10, maybe 20 of them are lying, looking for clout, whatever, but I don't believe that like 70 people are lying. You know what I mean? So I do, even some like people who have been guests on her show, like maybe not like the A-list celebrities, because obviously they would be treated differently because, their name draws a lot of viewers to the show. So they would, be treated amazingly by Ellen and everyone else. But even like people like YouTuber Nikki Beauty, or tutorials, she talked about how Ellen wasn't that warm to her, how there were like separate bathrooms for different like levels of people. So I think certain aspects are probably quite true, and that, I'm a little bit kind of miffed to see the narrative shift from how unkindly Ellen might be treating her staff and like people in general that she encounters like, in her day-to-day life, to just her staff being the people ruining Ellen's name. You know what I mean? I think that whoever handles her crisis PR management did an incredible job shifting the narrative so that all the blame can be taken completely off of Ellen herself and put on to her employees. Now, with 3 people being fired from her executive production company, just by the way, that doesn't mean that the investigation is complete. According to Ellen, the investigation is still underway. And so, maybe we can expect to hear a couple more firings before everything kind of wraps up. You guys, are you surprised to hear 3 top-level executives allegedly being fired so quickly? And are you disappointed to see that there isn't any kind of a reason given for their firings? Listen, we've got huge charges of systemic racism here, and all you can tell me is, hey, we fired 3 top-level people, but it has nothing to do with racism, which is the biggest issue being levied against my staff right now. Is that a little bit weird to you? And how do you feel about the narrative shifting from Ellen treating people poorly to her staff treating people poorly? Do you think that that was something that her PR representatives kind of manufactured? Make sure to let me know all of your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. And as usual, we'll chat. That's all for now. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.